I'm Peter Slow, and this is my guide to the historic Dover Castle. Today, Dover Castle dominates the town's skyline. It's enormous, indestructible, immaculately preserved. This is one of the mightiest fortresses in Western Europe. Never conquered, no other castle in England could match its extraordinary service in defence of the realm.
There's been a military fortification here for the best part of 2,000 years. It started with the Romans, moved on through the Saxons to the early Normans, William the Conqueror, and then Henry II in the 1180s.
This site began life as an Iron Age hill fort, nearly 2,500 years ago. Then the Romans arrived and built a lighthouse here, the remains of which you can still see today. But it was in the 12th century that this site underwent its greatest transformation.
In the 1180s, Henry II commissioned a man that we know as Maurice the Mason, or Maurice the Engineer, to build him a new castle here at Dover. The previous fortifications were swept away, and the huge castle that you see today was constructed.
Henry II wanted Dover Castle to be the biggest and the best, an indestructible military fortress, a lasting statement of power and prestige. Dover Castle was a revolutionary design. 2 concentric defensive walls protecting a keep at its centre. Although designed to be the ultimate stronghold during a siege, the keep also had to function as a royal residence.
The keep here at Dover is the last of what we call tower keeps. It's very roughly a 100-foot cube, and it's the largest, the most extensive, and certainly the most expensive keep ever built in England. There's a lot of unique features involved in the keep here at Dover. We have the first internal sanitary system. We have the first internal plumbing system ever put into an English keep. It was colossally expensive. Back in the 12th century, it cost £7,000. That's something around £70 million today. That's not the castle, that is just the keep.
Did you know that another group of invaders from France landed here in England exactly 150 years after William the Conqueror? You didn't? Well, they did. It's the forgotten invasion of Britain. Encouraged by some rebel barons, Prince Louis of France landed in England on the 21st of May, 1216, intending to overthrow King John. They were desperate to make sure that their brand new castle held up against this French attack, and nobody was more concerned, of course, than the man in charge, a bloke called Hubert de Burgh.
Hubert's task here at Dover was very simple. It was to defend and to hold Dover Castle at all costs. French forces occupied the town, the port of Dover. They surrounded the castle. They set up huge stone-throwing catapults and bombarded, in particular, the area around the north gate here. And indeed, on that section of wall between the square and the round tower, there's still evidence of battle damage from the siege.
One of Hubert's men, passing a barrel of water on the flagstones on the floor of the castle, noticed a ripple on the surface of the water. The castle was shaking. He sounded the alarm. Someone was clearly trying to disturb the foundations of the castle. Well, it was French tunnellers trying to dig their way in. Unable to batter their way through the walls, they decided to try and undermine the castle from beneath.
Well, this is an original tunnel from the siege of 1216, and it's either a French attack tunnel or possibly one of Hubert's counter-tunnels to intercept the French. From the attacker's point of view, the intention was to undermine the foundations of the North Gate. Now, obviously, you don't want that to happen, so you dig your own tunnel to intercept their tunnel, and if you were lucky enough to do so, you were fighting hand-to-hand with short sword and dagger in complete darkness.
The French had tunnelled under the North Gate and packed the tunnel with wood soaked in animal fat, and then set fire to it. The gate came crashing down over there, and the French came charging through and up this ramp, hoping to gain access to the keep of the castle. But Hubert de Burgh and his men rushed out of this gate, stopping the French in their tracks, and what followed was a bloody clash right here.
It would have been a very bloody fight. This is applied butchery. It's big men with big swords cutting big chunks off each other. It's fair to say that for a few hours that afternoon that the history of England balanced on Hubert's sword blade.
In the end, Hubert de Burgh and his men pressed the French back through the breach and out of the castle. De Burgh had managed to hold off the attackers, but only just. The siege went on a few months longer before the French finally gave up. But Prince Louis had exposed a flaw in Dover Castle's design.
Following the siege of 1216, of course, we have a huge castle complex with a destroyed main gate. Hubert bricked it up. It's the sort of sharp beak feature in the wall there. So now we haven't got a main gate at all. And it was Hubert de Burgh who built the Great Constable's Tower, which is the first fortified residential gatehouse ever built in England.
But all that happened way over there to the north side of the castle. But it was here on the south side that as time went on, the greatest threats loomed. Dover Castle's finest hour came in May 1940. Just months into the war, Britain was on the brink of a military disaster. German forces had made a strike westwards across Europe and had trapped the British army in a tiny pocket around the port of Dunkirk in France. Hitler's tanks had 400,000 Allied troops surrounded. They faced capture or death. For me, this has always been the most dramatic moment in British history. We were on the brink of defeat. Britain's army was stranded way over there on the beaches of Dunkirk, exhausted and exposed. Their only chance was if the British government could mount a massive effort to evacuate them. And it all depended on the planning skills of a very special team, here, deep underneath Dover Castle. A 3.5-mile-long network of tunnels lies beneath Dover Castle. Fully equipped, it contained a hospital and secure sleeping accommodation, a perfect place to plan a rescue operation. And the man in charge was Vice Admiral Bertram Ramsay. In May 1940, Ramsay had to gather a force of ships large enough to bring back all 400,000 troops. In the days before the evacuation, Winston Churchill came to Dover in person to see how the plans were progressing. The story goes that Churchill and Ramsay used to discuss their top-secret plans in this room, where noisy dynamos used to power the tunnels. So noisy were the dynamos that it used to drown out their conversation completely. That's how the operation got its code name, Operation Dynamo. As Ramsay's fleet of ships approached Dunkirk, they were easy targets for the German dive bombers. But incredibly, despite 235 ships being sunk, the rescue fleet took the risk of making repeated trips to Dunkirk. Through their incredible bravery, Ramsay's armada had managed the impossible, and by the 3rd of June, 338,000 men, nearly 10 times more than they had hoped, were brought back safely to England. I reckon it's one of the miracles of history, and from here, in Dover Castle, you could have watched it all.